The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, State of Hawaii Department of Transportation Airports Division, KONA, on your new Pierce fire apparatus, job number 35975. Please utilize this 5-digit job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. We'll get started on a brief orientation of your new apparatus. Starting just under the front bumper, you'll find 2 open-ended tow hooks attached to the right and left side of the frame rail. Moving up onto the face of the bumper, an air horn. Located directly in the center of the bumper face, you'll find your electronic siren and PA speaker. Just toward the driver's side, you'll find your mechanical siren. Let's move up onto the top of the bumper extension, where you'll find on the passenger side your large diameter pump inlet front bumper. Moving toward the center, you'll find tubbed storage location for hose and also tubbed storage location on the driver's side. Also a swivel discharge. Let's move up onto the cab, where you'll find a turn indicator marker light on the outer edge, low and high beam headlights. High beam will be on the inside. Directly above that, forward-facing emergency warning lights. Onto the outer edges for your mirrors, a flat mirror and convex mirror, both controlled from within inside the driver's cab. As we move to the center, you'll find your forward-facing camera. Directly above that camera is where you'll find your forward-facing floodlight. As we move up to the brow of the apparatus, you'll find clearance lights located across the very top section. Moving up on top of the roof, you'll find your emergency warning light bar. Located with inside the light bar in the center is where you'll find your opticom. Moving directly above the light bar on the passenger and driver's side, you'll find independently controlled spot floodlights. Let's go ahead and take a look at some close-ups of the items we just talked about. First, starting with some general photos of the front bumper extension. Moving now to the passenger side, where you'll find your front inlet, intersection lights on the sides, front inlet air bleed, tubbed storage in the very center, dry deck material in the base, and then also Velcro tie downs. Moving to the driver's side, additional tubbed storage for your front bumper line, discharge swivel on the far right side of the image. This is also foam capable. Let's move to the side, where you'll find your intersection light, emergency warning light. As we move just to the rear of that location, you'll find an auto eject plug. This is your shoreline inlet. It is a 20 amp auto eject. General photo here of the side of the vehicle from the driver's perspective. Let's move into the cab area. First, starting with the front axle, your vehicle is equipped with a TAC 4 independent front suspension, Alcoa wheels, Michelin tires. As we move to the front bumper, intersection light, emergency warning light. Also directly behind that, once again, your auto eject shoreline inlet, 20 amp. Moving now up to the door, where you'll find a door lock and latch. Right next to that, you'll find grab handles at all points of entry for gaining entry in and out of the cab. As we move down, just beneath this front handle is where you'll find a keyed entry pad, push button style. As we move to the rear, you'll find a lower emergency warning light on the rear cab wall. Moving now up to the top, you'll find an LED water tank level indicator. And then up at the very top section of the cab, you'll find a side-facing camera. This is part of your 360-degree camera system. Let's move now into the Crosslay section. The upper portion of the Crosslay roll-up door gains us access. You'll find on the first wall a backboard storage location accessible from both driver and passenger side. 2.5-inch pre-connect. The latch just below the 2.5-inch Crosslay emblem is the release mechanism for the Speedlay tray. As we move down, you'll find a warning label here. Because of those lines coming from aloft, there is the possibility of entanglement. As we move to the right, you'll find the number 1 Crosslay and number 2 Crosslay. These are both 1.5-inch discharges. Let's move just down below the notch section, starting first with the driver's side pump panel. At the top of the pump panel, you'll find two 2.5-inch discharges These are locally controlled via a ball valve with gauges at each location. You'll also find a warning placard regarding pressure hazard. Caps may be under pressure. Be cautious when opening them. As we move to the center, large diameter pump inlet, driver's side. As we move to the upper portion, this is your air supply valve control and also air tool outlet to the right. Just beneath that, you'll find a warning label regarding fall. When climbing onto the vehicle, always face the vehicle. Let's move down from this location and slightly to the left, where you'll find your drain valves for the 2.5 inch discharges. As we move up, you'll find the foam fill switch. Moving up, you'll find the foam inlet valve. And then just moving downward, you'll find the foam inlet. You'll also find a foam warning indication here. Do not mix different brands or consistencies of foam for the possibility of foam failure. Let's move just to the right, where you'll find the driver's side auxiliary inlet. This is a 2.5 inch female ball valve. And then just underneath that, you'll find our discharge drains for the pump drain and also for your auxiliary inlet. General view of the pump panel directly behind the roll-up door. Let's start at the top. First, when you engage the truck at the front section of the operator, this light will illuminate indicating OK to pump. As we move to the left, this is the Pierce placard for your minimum operation maintenance schedule. We'll go over that in a few moments. Also a foam level indicator, 100 gallons Class B foam. To the right in the gray module, you'll find your master intake gauge and master discharge gauge. In between the two of those are the test gauge ports for vacuum and pressure. They are currently plugged and are for testing purposes. As we move to the upper right side, we have an indicator light for PCM fault, also an audible alarm just underneath that, and also pump overheat indicator and also audible alarm. Let's move down on the pump panel. These are your discharges located from left to right. They're independently color-coded and labeled and also indicate whether they're foam capable, which they all are. As we move to the right, fire pump primer. It is a push to prime air, therefore minimum 1000 RPMs for best priming practices. As we move down, this is the extender for your master stream device, the deluge, which will raise it above the cab level. To the right, you'll find your water tank level indicator. It is the blue indicator in the center. It is a combination and part of the pressure throttle governor. As we move to the left, in the upper left-hand corner, if illuminated, would be yellow in color, is a check engine light. Directly in the center is a digital readout for the RPM. Moving further to the right, you'll find if illuminated would be red. This is a stop engine light. As we move down, you'll find engine diagnostic information across the area here on the pump panel. Once again, water tank level indicator in blue. As we move to the right, you'll find the red button, which is the silence button, allowing you to silence any audible alarms. Just beneath that is a menu button in orange. This allows you to scroll through the various menu functions of your pressure throttle governor. As we move down, you'll find control mode. This is either pressure mode or throttle mode. Just to the right, a preset button, allowing you to preset whether you're in pressure or if you're in throttle position for those independent values. Right to increase on the throttle, left to decrease. In the center is an idle button, push to move to idle. Let's move down on the pump panel to the next section, starting in the upper left with an electronic valve for your front intake. Right next to it, you'll find the front intake primer. It is a push to prime air prime. Just beneath that, you'll find a placard regarding priming instructions for best practices at least 1000 RPMs. As we move just to the left and downward, you'll find your tank fill and recirculating line. Right next to it is the tank to pump. And as we move to the right, you'll find your deluge discharge. Let's move to the round foam mate. This is a Trident foam system, ATP around the pump. We'll talk about the items within this area. First, let's start with at the top. This is your metering gauge. And then just beneath that, you'll find additional information. And in the upper right, you'll find instructions. This is your eductor switch, which will engage the inductor. Next, you'll find the foam switch, which allows foam to flow into the eductor. And then just beneath that, you'll find the flush switch, which you'll use to flush all foam out of the pump. As we move to the right, you'll find your rear discharge. And then just beneath that, you have two electronic valves for the passenger side, large diameter passenger and also 2.5-inch passenger. Let's move down to the next pump panel section. First, starting on the left-hand side, this is your rear inlet-outlet electronic valve. Right next to that, you're going to find the rear intake push to prime, air prime instructions just beneath that regarding 1,000 RPMs for best practices. Moving to the right, color-coded and labeled discharge drains. Moving all the way to the right, this is where you're going to find access behind the pump panel. We'll talk about that in a moment. As we move down to the left, another electronic valve. This is your large diameter rear inlet. And then further to the right, you'll find a direct tank fill. This is a line directly into the tank, and it is also an electric valve. Right next to it, color-coded and labeled discharge drains. As we move all the way to the right, a warning regarding only trained personnel should operate this piece of equipment, and that's only after the department has provided proper training. As we move to the vertical wall, you'll find your remote control. This is fixed for your deck gun. Just beneath that, you'll find a red air horn button. Let's move back to the pump panel access. This is your emergency override for your pump. As we move to the placard, this is the minimum operation maintenance schedule for 150, 200, and 250 test pressure. On the left is the associated GPM at test pressure. On the right, the associated RPM at test pressure. The remote control for your master stream device or deluge will be located inside this compartment, which is on the vertical wall of your pump panel area. As we move to the next compartment, you'll find the G1 breaker panel, and then just beneath that, you'll find your generator module. Let's move to the next compartment directly over the axle. First, let's start at the top with a tool board. A D handle gains you access to the rear side of the tool board. There is the ability for mounting equipment on the front and also on the back side. It will lock into position. The release mechanism is located on the hinge side. As we move down, you have two forward of the axle Scba bottle storage, the blue DEF cap, which is 4.5 US gallons, two Scba rear of the axle, and also a 65-gallon fuel tank, ultra low sulfur diesel. It's the silver cap. Let's move to the next compartment where you'll find three shelves, upper adjustable, mid shelf, and a lower tray. As we move to the mid tray here, this is the release mechanism located on the right-hand side. It will lock into position. Let's move to the lower pull-out tray, release mechanism located on the lower right-hand side. Once again, the tray on the lower section will lock into position, also requiring you to release that and pushing it back to restore. Let's move around to the very bottom section. Directly behind the rear axle on the side of the vehicle, you'll find a receiver hitch. This is a 9,000-pound maximal allowable winch rating. That is for direct pull. Also, just to the left of that location, you'll find your 12-volt access. We're now to the rear of the pumper. We'll start at the very top section, LED light at the top. Just beneath that is where you'll find your drafting tubes. Just down from that location, 10-foot folding attic ladder, long-handled pike-pulled storage. Beneath that, 24-foot extension ladder, 14-foot roof ladder. Let's move just to the other side and we'll identify just underneath the hosebed area an additional storage compartment. This will run all the way to the front bulkhead. Back down to the left where you'll find your rear deck lights, rear scene lights, and hosebed lights. You also have a large diameter rear inlet outlet at the very back of the apparatus. Let's move to the compartment roll-up door where you'll find inside a 200-foot electrical cord reel. The upper portion of that is the cord rewind button. And then let's move to the bottom where you have a pull-out tray release mechanism located on the right. Let's move up to the hose bed. There are two hose bed dividers located in your hose bed. Left section, center section, and as we move, the right section, or driver, center, passenger. As we move to the right, you'll find the step and ladder combination for gaining access aloft. Let's move back to the door where you'll find the unit identifier 122. Also on each side of that door, you'll find outlets. These two are generator outlets on the left, and also on the right-hand side, you have an additional outlet, generated power. Let's move just under the running board at the rear. On the left-hand side, you'll find your 12-volt access for your winch. As we move toward the center, you'll find your receiver hitch. At the top portion, you'll find a 5 and 7 pin outlet. Moving now to the receiving hitch, this is intended for use with a winch, and that's why we have a not rated for, approved for trailer to be attached to the receiver indicator. Let's move just to the right and upward. We'll find some additional warning placards. First, when climbing on the vehicle, always face the vehicle while climbing, and also never ride on the vehicle while it's in motion. Your vehicle does have a ladder located on the very back. There is the possibility of a pinch hazard, so when you pull the ladder outward, please make sure your hands are clear. Let's move around to the passenger side of the vehicle. All compartments and ladder deployed at the rear. First, we'll start with the very rear compartment on the passenger side. This compartment has two pull-out trays, a mid-located tray and also a lower tray. The release mechanism for the upper tray is located on the right-hand side. It will lock into position, requiring you to push the release to restore back to its stowed position. As we move to the lower tray, same configuration, release on the lower right. Also, we do have two outlets located here. These are connected to your inverter outlet. They are both 20 amp. As we move just underneath this compartment, you'll find 12-volt access intended for your winch, and also a winch receiver, 9,000 maximum allowable winch rating. That is direct pull. Also, just forward that location, direct tank fill drain, and also rear inlet outlet air bleed. Let's move to the next compartment, which is directly over the rear axle. We'll start with the lower section. There are two Scba bottle storage to the rear of the rear axle. As we move forward, you'll find two additional Scba bottle storage locations in front of the rear axle. As we move to the upper compartment, you'll find a pull-out and tilt downward tray. The release mechanism for this is the two outer black pins, but there is a cable which allows you to pull all at the same time. Let's move to the next forward compartment. Three locations for trays. At the very top section, we have a pull out and tilt down. Same combination, pull the wire to release both pins. As we move to the next shelf down, it is a release mechanism located on the right-hand side. It will lock into position. As we move down to the very bottom tray, release mechanism located on the lower right-hand side also. Just underneath this compartment is where you'll find additional drains. This is for your rear inlet outlet and also a manifold drain. We're now to the midsection. Let's start at the very top section where you'll find your 2.5-inch discharge. This is the passenger side. Once again, lift the latch to release the entire speedlay. To the right, you'll find your backboard storage, accessible both from the passenger and driver side. This is the release mechanism to release the speedlay tray. As we move downward, you'll find a warning label regarding entanglement hazard. Because of those lines going from aloft, there's the possibility of entanglement. Also, the number 1 and number 2 discharges. Let's move downward to the notch pump panel. We'll start in the upper left-hand corner, first with your cab lift. This is for tilting your cab. First, select lower or raise, release the lock, and activate. We do have some placard information here. One, instructions. The other is a danger placard. Just beneath that, you'll find a warning regarding fall hazard. Once again, when climbing onto the vehicle, always face the vehicle.
As we move to the right, you'll find your large diameter passenger side pump inlet and also a warning label here regarding pressure hazard. Caps may be under pressure. Be cautious when opening them. Just to the right, you'll find your 2.5-inch passenger side discharge. It's an electronic valve, therefore requiring an override if there is failure. Let's move down to the bottom where you'll find the number 1 right side auxiliary inlet. This is a 2.5-inch ball valve female coupling. At the very bottom, you'll find all of our color-coded and labeled discharge drains. Also an electric valve, your large diameter passenger side discharge. The override is located in the lower section. Let's move to the roof now. At the very front section, you'll find your emergency warning light bar. Just back behind that, you'll find 2 independently controlled spot floodlights. Air conditioning unit directly behind that. You'll find an antenna module. Unit identifier 122. As we move to the very rear cab, you'll find your airport flashing light. And then also 2 warning placards on the outer edges. This is a non-walking surface. Therefore, we have these warning placards indicating that this is a non-walking surface. Let's take a look toward the rear of the apparatus to the dunnage area. First, starting with your exhaust, extremely hot diesel exhaust temperatures. Please be cautious when operating within this area. You'll also find your deluge discharge. And then just to the right, you'll find your hydraulic generator. There are also 2 angled LED strip lights located on each side. Let's take a look at the monitor itself. The nozzle portion is not currently on it. It's controlled via the remote on the pump panel and also a remote handheld. As we move to the generator on the left-hand side of this image, and then a warning regarding extremely hot diesel exhaust temperatures. Let's go back to the generator where you'll find a sight gauge located on the forward section. As we move to the next section in the dunnage area, you'll find top fill location for your water tank and also top fill location for your Class B foam. On that Class B foam, there is a warning placard not to mix different brands or consistencies, and also lights located on each side of the dunnage. This is the top fill water, top fill foam, and you can see the warning label regarding foam failure. Do not mix different brands or consistencies of foam. As we move now to the hatch compartments, you'll find LED lighting and also dry deck material. Let's move to the rear section of your hose bed. Once again, there are 2 dividers dividing the hose bed into 3 individual spaces. These are adjustable. Let's move around now to the driver's front door. And let's go inside the cab area. We'll identify some items in this area. First, as a piece of advice, when opening the door, stand to the side because the steps will auto-deploy. In the upper right-hand corner at the base of the seat is where you'll find, when plugged into shore power, your battery level indicator. Your seat is an air ride comfort seat, therefore controls are on that air ride seat. You'll also find about the left or right knee of the operator, you'll find this placard. This is the placard indicating from Pierce for your department. It has the date of manufacture, 5-digit job number, gross vehicle weight rating, cold tire inflation, VIN number, all of the fluid capacities for each component, fluid capacity, and fluid type. Unit name on the outer edge of the truck just beside the door area, and then on the rear cab door you'll find engine 122. Let's move now to the front section. Affixed to the door panel you'll find all of our safety and warning placards. Also door lock and latch manually, and then also electronic controls for your window and door lock. Let's move inside the cab into the driver's space. General view looking into the cab of the driver's space, and then from the driver's seat looking backwards. Let's go ahead and start at about the left knee of the operator with the master battery switch. It is the quarter turn red switch. Just to the right you'll find your trailer brake module. Just underneath this location is where you'll find your diagnostic ports. Moving all the way to the right, you'll find your accelerator. Directly in the center, you'll find your brake treadle. As we move downward, you'll find 2 foot pedals, mechanical siren, and air horn. Let's now move just to the right of the column. We have an additional switch panel. Let's start at the very top section, first with your generator PTO. OK to engage the high idle and high idle switch, differential lock, camera activation, and load manager. As we move overhead of the operator, you'll find emergency master, roof light, front warning, side warning, lower rear warning, upper rear warning, and cab beacon, which is the yellow airport required beacon. Let's move just to the right of this location, additional switch panel, electronic siren, siren brake for your mechanical siren, front scene, driver's side scene, and passenger side scene. The blank areas can be programmed to any additional switches that you require. Moving further to the right, you'll find a digital readout for your pump pressure. This is for pump and roll operations. As we move to the right, you'll find a water tank level indicator and also a foam tank level indicator. In the very center, you'll find a do not move. If this light is flashing, it's indicating you have a compartment or door open. As we move to the left of the dash panel, you'll find your ignition switch. Just to the right of that, you'll find the start switch. Moving up to the very top section, we've got 2 additional switches here, a dim switch and also headlight switch. Let's move to the actual panel of gauges. First, starting on the left-hand side of the panel of gauges, at the uppermost left corner, you'll find this yellow placard. This is indicating the height, length, and gross vehicle weight rating of your vehicle. Let's start down at the bottom with the transmission temperature, oil pressure, DEF level, fuel level, front and rear air. As we move up, you'll find water temp, tachometer, speedometer, and volts. Let's go back to the yellow placard, where you'll find the height of the vehicle, 10 feet, 9.88 inches, length of your vehicle, 33 feet, 10.88 inches, and a gross vehicle weight rating, 53,800 pounds. Let's move to the right. General view here. At the very top, you'll find climate control. We'll now go ahead and work through some of the switches and components within this area. First, engine brake on and off switch, setting for low, medium, and high on that engine brake. DPF regen switch, DPF regen inhibit, and also front sensor fault for your airbag SRS system. Let's move down to the next set of rocker switches, first starting with the indicator, stationary OK to pump rolling, red and green indicator, water pump, passenger side, cab windows for driver side and passenger side. Yellow diamond, pull to apply your system parking brake and push to release. Next to it is the go light, which is your spotlight on top of the vehicle. Also, you'll find your siren, electronic siren, control head, and also PA speaker, and also USB ports and USB-C ports. We'll move to the center where you'll find your command zone. Tremendous amount of information displayed on this display. You can use it with gloved hand or touch screen. Just to the right, you'll find a camera activation. You'll also find mirror control and then also cup holders. Let's move to the rear, whereas we're looking just to the right where you'll find an access panel. This is for your daily checks for oil and transmission. We'll see those in the next few images. First, we're in the rear section of the cab. You'll find helmet holders and also your charging location for your wireless headset system. Let's go ahead and take just a general look around the rear section of the cab area. You'll find seating for a total of 4 members in the rear, overall 6 personnel. There are 2 Scba seats rear facing, and then also fold down seats located against the rear cab wall. As we move directly behind the driver's seat, you'll find your air compressor. This will be active when plugged into shore power. Let's go back to the right side where you'll find the Velcro flap. This is going to be your access location for your daily checks for oil and transmission. Let's move to the rear cab. First thing you'll notice is when you open the door, the steps will deploy, gaining access inside the cab area. On the left-hand side, you'll find the red grab handle for gaining access and also a door handle. Affixed to the door panel, you'll find all of our safety and warning information placards. As we move to the rear cab EMS compartment, you'll find at the lower section your inverter. Right next to it, you'll find additional plugs. At the very top section, you'll find USB plugs. These are just outside of the EMS compartment. Adjustable shelving inside, roll-up compartment door. On the very top, you'll find 2 LED box lights. Let's go back to the lower section of the EMS compartments where you'll find 3 adjustable shelves located inside. Directly overhead, you'll find your air conditioning unit. As we move back down inside the compartment at the floor area is where you'll find the inverter location. As we move to the placard on top of the inverter, this tells you the type of inverter. It is rated at 750 watts. Right next to it, you'll find Shoreline and also inverter power outlets. On the side of the EMS compartments, you'll find USB-C and also USB outlets. As we move to the passenger side or officer's position, just as a reminder, when you open the door, the steps will automatically deploy for allowing you to gain access inside. As we move inside the cab area, on the panel of the door panel, you'll find all of our safety and warning information, door lock and latch, electric window control, and electric door locks. Your vehicle is equipped in the front section with a supplemental restraint system and airbag. There are stickers around the vehicle to explain where those are located. Do not mount anything within the vicinity of this front airbag. And this is the warning label that indicates that crash protection system. As we look to the left of the officer's seat, you'll find first at the very top 3 push buttons, mechanical siren, electronic siren, and air horn. As we move downward from that location, you'll find 12-volt access via USB-C, USB, and also barrel style. In the very front section, you'll find your vehicle data recording port. Let's move overhead of the operator. You'll find momentary opticom and front scene light, additional future switches. Also in the upper right hand corner, you'll find the spotlight control module for the light that's on top of the truck. Congratulations, State of Hawaii, Department of Transportation Airport Division, Kona, Hawaii, on your new Quantum Pierce puck pumper. If you have any questions regarding your vehicle, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Following the end of this slide, additional images will be displayed. Thank you and congratulations.